right, good morning, Speed Gaming, and welcome to A Link to the Past Randomizer League action. My name is Tracy M. With me today is Mystic. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Up early and up and at 'em. We've got two really exciting racers today. Tell us a little bit about Fred Coughlin and NilssonAlex92.
Well, we do have Fred from the Bomb Squad and Alex from Opt Got Good. Both of them a little struggling in the league so far. Bomb Squad with only one win. I believe Fred has that one win. Opt Got Good looking for their first one, hoping that Alex can deliver it for them. So this is kind of a big race for a big week for these teams because if you lose both races here, that could put you not only make it really hard to make the playoffs, but put you down in that spot where you might have to fight for your life just to stay in the invitational part of the league.
Yeah, these two teams in a very, very difficult Kakariko division with teams such as Pug Trio, with some of the strongest, racers in the league, who are also tied with the 2019 Titans Myths 2019, even Error 216. So you got like some of the top tiers of runners.
Okay, and we do have a standard boots mode, so we're going to get boots right away, and we're going to get a sword as soon as we pass by the uncle.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't played casual boots, either in ladder or, in any other, format, it might not be obvious to you right away that, the sword is given to you for free. You can actually dash through these bushes even if it doesn't show you your sword, which is kind of a weird, deceptive thing.
Yeah, so one of the big differences here from your normal standard, we don't have to worry about bombs. The runners might choose to see if the prize packs involve bombs, so they don't have to worry about them for Kakariko, but they'll be able to bonk the door whether they have bombs or not. So it's basically a race to pick up Zelda and get her out to get yourself a nice advantage of the early game.
Modes like casual boots really do give us an opportunity to see how good somebody is with boots. And we'll look to see just how much time we can see between the two runners, how long it takes them to do this escape sequence, as people who have really practiced their boots movement in general will get a huge advantage through here.
Okay, let's get our first item here. Well, not our first item. Maybe we'll get 300 rupees. Okay, so really we're not even going to worry about bombs at all, because worst case scenario, they'll just buy them. Plenty of money now.
Yeah, being cash flush leaving escape is definitely a great feeling. You have all of the options available to you. Now, it remains to be seen whether or not we're going to, need to get a whole lot more money before we do the rest of the next couple of sequences. But this does put us a nice chunk of change towards Zora later.
Okay, next item. A red cane. That's a nice early pickup. Doesn't actually get us anything right now, but not having to worry about finding that later is always nice.
We're also seeing some really nice divergent strategies for the various key guards throughout this escape sequence, and pretty much neck and neck despite that. We saw a more sophisticated spin strat out of fcoughlin there, and the second key guard, whereas NilssonAlex kind of had an easier time through the first one.
And both just using their sword on the ball and chain guard. Get their small key out of Zelda's cell.
Yeah, 8/ is a little bit more efficient in terms of time. However, a 2-pot or 1-pot strategy is definitely viable too.
Now let's see what they do here. It's a little bit faster to just run up these stairs and run on the bridge when you have boots. You'll notice when they don't have boots, they usually stay at the bottom there. Jumping off from different places, but still hitting the door at basically at the same time.
This is kind of like a clinic on how you can save time during your NMG escape, minus the boots. If you really want to look at the paths that save you time in terms of like where to jump off, as you mentioned, what kind of lines you want to take in general. You can definitely tell that fcoughlin has spent some time practicing NMG.
Okay, and we're going to hit the back of the escape and into the dark rooms. And of course, given that we don't have a lamp yet, these dark rooms will all be lit up by a light cone, even without a lamp. And if they had to come back here for some reason, which in this mode they never will, because of those boots, they'll open up the sewers at the back. But in general, this light cone would be there if they had to come back. That can happen in a regular standard mode.
Wow, really impressed by Fred's key dash there. He knew to line up with the wall before dashing north, and that's going to save him a lot of time trying to open up that door. You can just dash all the way through. Oh no,
Alex having a little more trouble with that key rat.
The dreaded north.
We get a bottle, more rupees, and a bug net. Bottle will be nice to be able to check Sick Kid on the first trip through Kakariko, but not much to say about the rest of that.
Yeah, otherwise fairly bare.
Interesting that Alex chooses to go out the bottom instead of going out the top. I believe with the boots it's a little faster to go out the top. With bombs it's probably a little faster too, but early on in the game you'd want to save those bombs. So with boots you don't have to worry about it. So I'm a little surprised that Alex went out the other way.
You know, an interesting point to bring up too. You know, a lot of these things that we would kind of take for granted about time saves kind of are a little different with Quick Swap, being that Quick Swap is available for all modes in this league. I'm curious to see if any of those time save comparisons have changed over time.
Okay, and of course with boots, the first thing we're gonna check is bonk rocks. And money just not gonna be an issue today, as we've seen our second big 300. It's not quite enough for everything we're gonna get to, but it comes pretty close to getting a Zora money and pod money. And interesting if Fred's gonna skip the lumberjack check. This is something I would, if without boots, you know, it's kind of one of those things, runner preference without the boots. But with the boots, the argument, of course, is that you would check it when you got the boots. So you should just go ahead and check it now. And we're gonna see it on Alex's side. Also, a nice bow sitting there in the woods. Looks like a piece of heart.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as you on this. Even if it ends up not being important, the information about whether or not you're going to have to deal with the Aghanim climb is kind of big. And you need the boots to get them, so that's kind of, as you mentioned, the way you would check that. Fred will save time. I doubt that he ever checks that until he has.
No, he probably will just never check it, since, you know, usually the impetus to check it in situations where you skip it early is picking up the boots, but he has them already, so. Also, shoutouts to a nice tree pole, getting some bombs free.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I'm wondering if Alex just killed 3 enemies, or no, I'm sorry, 4 enemies with taking damage. I saw him do it twice.
And another big 300. Well, now our money problems are completely over. And there's the 20 that represents where our boots would have been. So, would have been an early boot seed anyway.
Alright, so cash flush throughout the entire opening of this seed. We are barely 8 minutes in, already breaking the rupee counter from vanilla into the thousands.
And we have double canes now. Blue cane doesn't do a whole lot for us. Eventually put Spike Cave in logic. Nice safety for the blind fight, assuming that they do it. Yeah, kind of nice when you have so much money that you don't even have to bother with the pots in Kakariko. That doesn't happen very often. and Fred's still mad that he has to pay 100 rupees for a piece of heart. Lays that bomb down on the bottle vendor. Poor bottle vendor.
I will say that despite the explosive response, you could get a lot worse for your money.
Oh, for sure. And we do get to check Sick Kid. Let's see what he's got for us. Oh, a Moon Pearl. And Fred just wanting to waste those bombs. Like, I don't want Dark World access. How dare you give me Dark World access?
You know, a bold thing to do, because Kakariko going to give him 3 more bombs. It's basically no consequence with boots as well, as you don't need bombs for that many things. Just a few, really. So Fred feeling no problems at all and ends up getting rewarded for his temper.
Yeah, and one of the big things you need bombs for, of course, is the mini Moldorm Cave. But we have a sword, so we don't really need bombs for that. Just the one to get in. And a book at the library, so yeah, how very vanilla.
Well, that's quite interesting, because when you find a book in the library in Randomizer, particularly a casual boot seed, it really does make Desert the more appealing play than it would normally be. The issue here, of course, you gotta have fire.
Yeah, an early desert play. I wouldn't surprise me if we get that. Except it is a pendant. Of course it's a pendant. Because we got a book to do it.
Is that the vanilla pendant, too?
I can never remember which one's red and which one's blue.
I believe blue in this game is power.
Yeah, so I'm sure someone in chat knows if we don't have it right, so. Of course, the nice thing is, with it being a pendant, then even if you go there and it's nothing, you're probably never going back.
Oh, interesting.
Red flooding first, okay. Oh, and a lamp, which she's gonna want to pick up because that's your fire source. Who knows when you're gonna get your fire rod? He'll pick it up now. And that does fully open both Eastern and Desert. No, we don't have gloves yet. That fully opens Eastern.
Wow, as
the
if we
money
didn't have enough money.
In fact, Alex isn't even going to go down to the South Shore. He's going to go straight over towards Eastern Palace.
You know, money might not grow on trees here in Hyrule, but it certainly falls from the sky.
It does indeed. And a blue mail sitting there behind Saha, so that's nice. A nice little upgrade. Let's see if Alex continues on into Eastern Palace. He can full clear this, and we know it's in logic because of where the lamp is, but he doesn't know that because he hasn't gotten that lamp yet. So he'll have to do those dark rooms, which are a little bit tricky on 4 hearts. But players of this caliber should be able to do it just fine. But it could save Fred some time when he gets over there, since he does have that lamp.
I gotta wonder, though, Tracy, I mean, what does the logic of the game say about bombing NPCs?
Apparently, according to Fred, it says just bomb them all. Oh, he's gonna have to be careful, though. Those crabs. 2 hearts of damage on green mail. Okay, he's fine now. I do wonder if he's gonna set up a water walk to go over to Zora, though.
You know, the funny thing is I would almost think, hey, you know, no problem, I would do that every time, but kind of risky to do that, actually, in his situation. So he's going to hopefully not hit anything in his path.
Meanwhile, Alex going through Eastern Palace. With this much money, though, and the Moon Pearl. Well, I guess with the Water Walk, you don't really need the Moon Pearl. With this much money, oh, and there are our gloves sitting there on Lake Hylia Island. And there's a hammer.
We're just replete with the progression early on. Both a hammer and a glove available in the basically early light world off of Sphere 1 checks. Kind of crazy.
We have a lamp, we have a sword, we have a cape, and we have a glove that's locked behind the Dark World. This is looking aggish.
So the thing I gotta wonder is, how are we gonna get that glove? Aghanim, you know, is kind of the message we're seeing from, you know, the logic. Even chat's kind of agreeing with this. But where the flippers will be, and will end up being kind of an important logical implication. As you mentioned, the cape being a factor as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see someone in this race try to sequence break that, if that flippers find doesn't end up being easy.
Well, and especially if we find, oh, poor Fred gets the piece of heart that gives the full heal, make him have to go through and set up this water walk again. But yeah, I mean, you can break, you cannot break that with fake flippers, but you can break that with water walk. And we'll see if it, depending on, especially if Swamp, for instance, turns out to be a pendant dungeon, it might not be a bad call to just go ahead and do a water walk to go ahead and get those gloves when the time comes.
And while we do have the boots to, do the water walk instead, it is entirely possible to do that sequence break with, like, a fairy revival as well.
Oh, I haven't seen that. That sounds cool.
There are options. They're not fun options, but if you have boots, you may as well.
And Fred says, you know what? I don't want a boomerang. I spent a whole ton of money and I don't want this boomerang, so we're just going to skip it. Well, surprise. Boomerang's not a bad item to have. I would have picked that up, but...
He just understands that it's just a lot of wasted lag frames, so, I mean, you may as well wait for the blue one.
Oh, and Alex gets a sword out of the big chest. It looks like Fred's going to head over to Eastern, so he'll get that sword as well. Aga often coming in threes, it feels like 2 swords and a cape, or 3 swords or something, just to say, hey, really, that's where you're supposed to go.
So we've seen a cape, we've seen Master Sword, we've seen Lamp. Besides the fact that NilssonAlex will be able to finish Eastern, it almost feels like that's exactly what you gotta do. You just gotta go to Aghanim.
Yeah, I mean, the other option at this point is Desert, and that's, you might never have to go to Desert, so because it's a pendant dungeon, so I can definitely see skipping. I can see the argument for checking it and see if he can score some gloves, but with knowing that one of those gloves at least is locked behind Dark World, I'd probably just do Aga. I do expect Alex to go ahead and check South Shore before he does it, though, at the very least.
It'd be interesting to see what could be in Desert to stave off an Aghanim play, because there's not a whole lot out there we don't know about for getting to the Dark World.
Yep, would have to be a glove, and we know where one of those gloves is, so yeah, I think it's highly unlikely that it would show up.
I would guess the big thing that would make Desert a stronger play than Aghanim to go there first would have to be something that makes Dark World traversal better. So,
yep.
Maybe a hook shot.
Yeah, because right now when we get there, we'll have a hammer, so we could go do some of the south checks, and we could go into Pod. And Pod's gonna be full clearable, so... We have a bow, a hammer, a lamp. Full clearable in logic. And Reynolds just hope it is a crystal dungeon.
Yeah, if we ignore the fact that we can't get that other glove just yet, kind of a friendly early Dark World. We at least have a Master Sword to work with, and a full clearable Pod less than 20 minutes in, that feels kind of rare.
Yeah, it is pretty rare, I'd say. Okay, so Alex is going to go ahead into Mini Moldorm Cave, and he's going to get that lamp. But he obviously didn't need it, because he got through Eastern just fine without it. And we'll probably see a bit of a convergence on the Aga play, although we'll see if either one of them opts to try Desert.
Yeah, given that their teams, don't have a whole lot of wins on the board, I wouldn't be that surprised to see such a gamble. I think it's the kind of choice that you would make when you basically really need to get a win somewhere on the board, and nothing so far has gotten you enough points to, be in contention for the top spot in the league or in your division. I would expect more gambles in a race like this than, say, a hotly contended race between the top 2, position teams.
Sure. And even if Desert doesn't stop us from having to do Aga, if there's something good in there that your opponent won't get to for a while, it would still be worth it to do it. It could still be worth it to do it, depending on what that item is and whether your opponent will have better access to it with a flute, mitts, and mirror combination.
Well, good news for Alex. We'll actually be able to see that power glove thanks to this water walk play. There wasn't really a convenient time besides when we were walking over to Eastern to be checking the island, where you could have jumped in. So they'll both have the information they need. It's just a question of how they plan on getting it.
Yeah, and basically, yeah, the runners are basically switch places. So Alex, no doubt, will go over to Zora and do those checks while Fred finishes up Eastern, and then we'll see. They'll have a decision to make.
Well, solid water walk, or not water walk, sorry, fake flippers out of Hobo, but unfortunately, swimming is a lot slower than walking, interestingly enough.
Yeah, funny how that works.
Two very different approaches to the Armos quick kill, both approximately equivalent.
Okay, we're gonna see what Fred decides to do first. Alex, lucky enough not to be right at that full heart piece on that heart container on that heart piece pickup. It does not have to reset up his water walk here. Okay, Fred, where are we going? Straight to Aga.
Alrighty, so heading up to Aghanim through the castle tower at 20 minutes or so with that save and quit. It's a relatively quick time to be clearing out all the light world available, sans the desert. We'll be into the dark world presumably by about 25 minutes or so, depending on Aghanim RNG.
Okay, let's see what Alex decides to do. Oh, he's gonna make the desert play. I like the route divergence.
Yeah, and even if it ends up not being going into desert proper at this point, we'd at least be able to check Agina. Although I think if you do take the time to do this before Aghanim, you're going all the way through.
Oh, he hasn't even done the dam yet. Also is going to go ahead and... right, because he doesn't... yeah, this is where the lamp was. So, yeah, important piece of the puzzle for Alex here.
Stuff makes me wonder, was this lamp lit before we cleared out the dam? Or
yeah, that's a good question.
Strike a mechanism of some sort?
Also very interesting that both our runners not doing the conventional, do the front item first, go back in, and flood the dam. In this case, both going ahead and flooding and then doing the first item. We are still going to see that desert play from Alex. So first it's going to be Nagina.
I need to have a chat with whoever localized this game. Naming two different people so similarly.
I know, right? And he gets a blue boomerang. So we have two boomerangs for Alex and no boomerangs for Fred.
I do think, though, Fred will probably have less of an explosive reaction to that boomerang.
Yeah, probably.
Appears to be a man of culture to avoid those lag frames.
Okay, let's see what's sitting here on the desert ledge. Just 10 arrows.
One of those things that could be situationally useful, depending on your arrow count. Had we come here directly from Eastern, that might actually be kind of handy. Of course, we do have plenty of arrows available in the dungeon, so someone who is experienced with the routing, say from NNG, would probably just know to pick up the bottom pot there if you needed them, and the one on the right, some of them in the left.
In fact, Desert has, I think somebody said that Desert actually has more arrow pots than Eastern does, which is kind of interesting. But
I would say it probably has more in your direct path.
Peace Heart sitting on the torch. And we get the small key in the big chest. Actually, it has to, in this setup, it has to be there.
Folks in chat
on the right side.
Well, our friends in chat playing our favorite, not Gans Tower game, but just the blue ball guessing game. Aghanim here is basically operating on coin flip logic. However, it is a set RNG between both runners for this sort of fight. So whatever fcoughlin sees here will be the same as NilssonAlex.
Hopefully for Alex, we don't get the map compass right side here. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we got. So desert, just bait. If Landmo has a decent item, we won't know for now because we don't have a glove to get there. And so Alex is going to have to go and do the Aga play. So that's a big time loss for him.
As rough as it is, if there's something important on the boss, Alex will be able to very quickly get that later on, depending on whether or not we get like the flute mitts combo.
Okay, what do we have on the pyramid ledge? It looks like Fred decided not to pick it up, so probably nothing interesting. Let's see if he heads Hype Cave or Pod. Yeah, going straight to Pod. I like this choice. It's... Actually, we haven't seen a map check yet. I like this choice if this is a crystal. If it's a pendant, then, you know, I might grab that hammer out and do the Hype Cave checks first.
I got a little baited by the quick swap to hammer. I was really convinced he was going to Hype Cave. You know, there can definitely be made an argument for both. If you can fully clear Palace of Darkness, I don't mind going this way first, but I think checking the map's probably smart.
Yeah, exactly. If this is a crystal, yeah, for sure, I go Pod right away. It's full clearable, it's fully in logic, just do it. If it's it's a pendant. Of course it's a pendant.
Well, certainly a source of superstition for a lot of runners. Without the mirror, this is a little more painful to do, but with boots, it's not so bad.
Also, we're bow locked, so actually when you have a bow and you go into pod and it's bow locked, I feel like there's more likely something there. And we've all seen pendant pods with lots and lots of good stuff, so. Yeah, I see a question, what's the other pendant? Well, we haven't done a map check yet, so. There's our map check. Thieves Town. Oh, everybody's favorite pendant dungeons.
Yeah, if you had the mirror available to you, it would be very nice for this to be the green pendant, if anything, because then you could go right over to Sahazrilla, turn that thing in, and figure out one more item location. But we're in a situation where this bow is kind of necessary to progress, so while you wouldn't have missed it, it does tell you a little bit more about the dungeon itself.
I just feel like the Hype Cave checks are just really, really quick, and you could also, if you want to, route in Dig Game and Stumpy, which I could see skipping those and going to Pod before that, because just item density. But none of those are that long, especially with the boots. I just feel like just getting those taken care of, and then, you know, this is still here, you can still get to it really quickly, because you have the Aga portal. You just hope that you have, a second glove before you head over towards Village of Outcasts, because that pendant Thieves Town is a really hard one to not want to full clear if there's not a whole lot left. But you know, it's a pendant, so how badly do you want to full clear it?
Yeah, our access to the left side of Dark World might be kind of awkward based on what we know about that first glove.
Yeah, right now we don't have access. We need a hook shot or another glove. Yeah.
It's kind of like the opposite of what you normally see. Usually it's the right half.
Yeah, exactly. The Mitts Dark World access that makes it so you don't logically have access to this area. Meanwhile, Alex in his Aga fight, we'll see if he also goes straight to Pod. We'll see if he checks his map before heading over there.
Yeah, so maybe that was part of the factoring in for Fred. Maybe Fred had thought, hey, there's no way for me to get over to the left, so, I might as well just be heading in here anyway.
If this is the answer, you're gonna get push-tiered regardless. Okay, 3 keys right now means there is something in the Harmless Hellway. Could be a dungeon item though, or could just be a key that. There must be a door he hasn't opened, because I'm looking at this and he's got an extra key. Actually, he may never have opened that front door because we were bow locked initially.
Yeah, that can be pretty handy if you're going to full clear this dungeon to just never open that front door. We don't have a mirror, so like a death warp could be advantageous, but if you can hold on to an extra key, through some kind of break, it's kind of convenient to just not have to check one more thing that if you can exclude it by logic, like the harmless hellway we could potentially not have opened.
And more money.
To answer or address a question in chat, yes, we do have a fairy.
Ah, yes, death warping with a fairy. And I don't think we've gotten anything out of this pod play yet, except money.
Hey, I mean, it doesn't hurt to be even more cash flush.
I guess you don't have to worry about money the rest of the game. Buy all the potions you want.
They gave us a 4th digit on the ruby counter for a reason. It's not just to add more lag.
I remember playing this game for the first time, and the worst thing was you get a 300 rupees when you already had like 999.
Yeah, and if you're playing the game vanilla originally, you might actually like stumble upon the Fountain of Fortune and be like, "Oh, cool! I can upgrade my stuff." And then you can't even really, upgrade everything with the original count.
And this last one has to be a key. And Fred not going to go to the back. I did not see if he got both map and compass, but he did check his menu, actually flat out check it. So may very well be that he's already gotten all the items out of there and does not feel like killing Helmasaur, which I don't blame him. Where are we headed now, though?
I'm gonna guess at this point this has got to be a sequence breakup, or not? Sorry.
Oh, he hasn't checked. He hasn't checked the lumberjack.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't have a glove either. Yeah, so it has to be the lumberjack, or potentially a pedestal check. That's a book. Probably the both. So he's gonna go straight into the lumberjack, which I believe represents a time loss compared to Alex.
Picks up that piece of heart, that hard-earned piece of heart, and is not happy.
Having words with the lumberjacks from a distance, they can hear him echoing his frustrations. Or perhaps they can't, they're gone.
Oh, and I do think we are getting that ped check. And ped will be in logic as soon as we find that other glove or flippers to get the one we know the location of.
Yeah, being that the physical requirements for accessing it not that stringent in this seed for what we already have and what we know, this is a pretty sound play, particularly if you're going to go to lumberjack.
And it's just couch cash, so not even the good money. Okay, so where does Fred go next? I guess we go Hype Cave?
Yeah, that seems like a pretty sure bet. Now, cannot pull up the rock there, so may have forgotten, or no, is going to head to desert, perhaps realizing.
Yeah, if this is the desert play, then he's giving back the time that he gained off of Alex for his desert check. I'm telling you, I feel that Hype Cave play.
And I kind of get why he's doing this. Really wants to be able to do the rest of the Dark World in one fell swoop. Going through with Aghanim might feel like it was a time loss, like he left something that could have got him away from it. But we know that worked.
I would make the argument that if this was the answer, I mean, it still could have been the answer, but just plowing forward with what you've already done, make the Aga play pay off rather than backtrack to the stuff you could have done beforehand.
The age-old rando adage, finish your plays.
Yep.
I'd be a hypocrite to yell that at him, though. I mean, that's a common pitfall for pretty much everybody.
Oh, for sure.
Myself included. Well,
But like
Fred,
you said earlier, if it turns out that there's something on land mode they have to get later, they'll both be able to get it a lot quicker. They'll just be able to go in from the back, hopefully with a flute and mitts.
maybe in this situation, Fred actually does finish Lamolus. I mean, it is NMG meant Lamolus for the most part. You're probably going to use...
Not without a glove, he doesn't.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Goodness gracious, that sucks.
Yeah, the worst right side. This is like, it's not quite as bad as going to left side swamp and finding map compass, but right side desert, kind of similar bad feeling when you do that. And Fred hasn't checked Agina yet, so he's going to go do that last.
Yeah, maybe up until the point where he's headed back down south towards the right exit, might have been thinking the same way I was. Yeah, it can be really easy to forget you need a glove for that, because generally you will have a glove by the time you're going in there.
It's just much more common to have that hammer be late than the gloves, because there's 2 of those gloves. Okay, Alex looks like he's going to head south over to Hype Cave. He doesn't have much of a choice. He did already do this desert check. And Fred forced to have a boomerang. Hopefully he likes that blue one better than that red one.
See, you can tell he does, because he didn't bomb that chest.
There you go.
Like, he was already forced to menu to bomb, or not menu, but quick swap to bomb in the first place, so had the availability, the option to do it.
Fred is forgetting that he has access to Hype Cave with that hammer. He looks a little confused right now. And Hype Cave giving us a mirror, which doesn't give us much, but it does give us something.
I'll tell you what it does give our runners: anxiety. The second they see that, when they know that they've done Palace of Darkness without a mirror,
Yeah, there you go.
Feels like you've lost some time.
Pendant Palace of Darkness without a mirror, no less. And I like what it looks like. Alex is going to go over to the Bombos tablet with that. That book hasn't given us anything, so I kind of like the choice to do that first. And then he can just go ahead and do Stumpy Dig Game and K45 all together. Fred's still thinking about it.
A good early decision to at least check this Bombos tablet. That was the other glove.
It was the right decision. That is a glove. And we were, this was a 100% Aga required seed. No getting around it. This is just such an uncommon layout. I mean, when's the last time you saw a Aga to South Dark World to get your progression? It just doesn't happen very often.
Like, something important on, like, Hylia Island doesn't feel that strange. Something, you know, like this, where you can't access the rest of the world, you know, to the west. That feels weird.
Yep, absolutely. Stumpy with just a big 100, and we have more money. Oh, and is he gonna try and do a fake flipper here? You can't get this item anyway without a glove. And we see an ether in K45, which, you know, we may or may not need as our first medallion. Fred, go down, go down, go down!
Oh no, Fred, what is you doing?
Oh, he's gonna go kill Helmosaur, I think. This feels really bad right now.
This feels eerily like something I might do in a scene. Like, I'm feeling self-conscious watching this.
He keeps looking at his menus, trying to figure out what he needs to do next. If he had just gone down and seen those hammer pegs, he might have figured it out. And just 10 arrows at the dig game.
Could also be a thing where he thinks he's already done Hype Cave.
And Alex mirrors back to the light world, and he's going to go back into the dark world from the normal spot.
So while we saw before that Alex had a bit of an advantage over, Alex was trying to catch up to Fred. Fred at this point is kind of giving up a good 5, maybe even 10 minutes if it ends up being a thing where he keeps rechecking locations he's been to.
Oh, I think we're going to get the ped check from Alex. Again, getting that knowledge to make sure with these pendant dungeons, like we said earlier, so early on.
Yeah, so that'll represent some time neutrality for Fred here. If Fred can get back on the right track, that'll help him out a lot.
Yeah, a lot of game left to play. It's just a matter of how long it takes Fred to figure out how to use that hammer to get back down to Hype Cave and all the checks down in the South Dark World.
Well, if you're on the bomb squad or rooting for him, this is a good sign. He does have the hammer selected in menu.
Yeah, what does that hammer get you, Fred? Come on, put it all together. You got this.
Probably not a good sign that he's in the menu, though.
No.
We lightly roast him, but I mean, he is one of the best at this game, so this is the kind of mental error you just happen to see every now and then. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, double checking Desert Ledge.
Alright, I like this sign, though. If he's heading towards the portal, so he may have just forgotten that he had Aghanim portal here, because, I mean, that might be... No, because he used it to get back over here. He's got to remember Hype Cave at this point. This is definitely the sequence where you've checked everything else in your mind.
We do see Alex dipping into Skull Woods, hoping to get something in the front area. We don't have Fire Rod to get to the back yet. And those are the flippers. So now we have our mitts.
Feels like a normal place to find flippers lately.
Yeah, it feels like Skull Woods. It isn't unusual to find something pretty decent in Skull Woods. Ah, here we go. Fred's got it figured out. We're back on track.
Now, the good news here for Fred is that I kind of surmise that when he finds something like this mirror right here in the third chest of Hype Cave, knows immediately, hey, Bombo's tablet's right along the way. He would be thinking in his mind, hey, NilssonAlex probably got this. This might be a point of like doubt, though, for a runner. As I mentioned before, you feel like your opponent's done something with this already, and he will not actually get that glove right away. So that might actually end up continuing to hurt him.
I mean, Alex did all these checks too, so it's pretty time neutral in that sense, but Fred's going to need to make up some time somewhere after what he went through to just figure out to go this way. We see nothing on the bumper ledge, so that cape was basically a pointer to Aga. And Alex is going to go ahead and do these North Dark World checks now. Avoiding Village Outcasts and Thieves Town for the time being. And that ether might still be important, so good that Fred picks that up. We won't know for quite a while.
Yeah, so early on, or I guess midway through this seed, NilssonAlex pulling quite far ahead because of the, the way it turned out with Hype Cave. We'll see if Alex can turn this into a long enough lead to make up for basically Fred Coughlin's, I would argue, probably superior execution in most dungeons.
And Fred known for his very specific dig pattern. Seen him do that before.
A large hello?
Yep. Alex trying to decide what to do next. I think he's going to go get those mitts. That gives him access to... It does not give him access to Ice Palace. We don't have a Bombos or a Fire Eye. We still don't have a whole lot of access to a whole lot of places. We don't have anything to get to East Death Mountain. We don't have anything to get to... we can only go into Swamp Palace, but we can't finish it without a hook shot. No Bombos or a Fire Rod for Ice Palace. So, a lot of not great options on the table here.
I mean, that still is like half of Swamp Palace if somebody feels really bold, which if I was Fred right now, I might be considering long shot opportunities instead of hook shots. Of course, you still got to do all the things that Alex did to get to that point, but, I wouldn't even be surprised to see Fred do something really, really out there in this situation.
Yeah, that could be the kind of thing that gets him back into this if he were to go into Swamp Palace and score a hook shot in the left side or something like that. And I think Alex is going to go ahead and just go get his Death Mountain access. We do have access to the mountain. We just can't do very much there unless we find something. Actually, that's not true. We have a mirror and a hammer. We totally have East Death Mountain access. What was I thinking? No hookshot for Hookshot Cave, so can't quite get to everything unless we have hovers on our hands.
Yeah, given what we've seen so far and how few things are kind of on the table, I wouldn't be surprised to find a hookshot up here in this situation. We've got everything we need to get over to the right side, just not a whole lot that we can do in terms of Dark World once we have the mitts. That hookshot cave being really the density of Dark Death Mountain.
Yep. And we do get a nice half magic for rescuing the old man. Not a needed item, but definitely a nice item. One thing that could get Fred back in this match, because right now they're both heading up to Hera, and they're even on the crystal count. If a Fire Rod shows up soon enough, it might push him over towards Skull Wood so he can get his flippers as well, so he can get his mitts access.
That would also double as a way for him to save doing 2 trips. So yeah, good point. I mean, that could definitely be more efficient.
And we'll probably get an Ether tablet check first here.
Yeah, Ether already in stow. We'll see what follows in tow with the actual tablet itself. Just 20.
Yeah, not really surprised. The book was given to us for that Bombos tablet to get those gloves. And we are not going to see a Hera pot today because no hookshot yet. Unless it's sitting in one of these first 2 chests.
I was kind of hoping you'd curse that.
Got one more shot at it.
Would be quite the extension. Dang.
Just a map.
Well, won't be able to use any recently permitted tech to pull ahead here. But we'll see if we can grab onto some progression somewhere in here. But hey, if you haven't seen a similar to NMG climb in a while, here's Hera.
Yeah, we'll see if either one of them opts to do a bomb jump here, which would be one of the things you do in NMG. Looks like Alex is not going to do the bomb jump. It is one of the more difficult bomb jumps. It's not even that so much that it's more difficult. It's just it's so punishing if you fail it.
It's so scary.
You fall down 2 flights of two floors. So I don't blame anybody for not doing this.
I kind of miss this being more common though, because there are so many really cool setups for it. You see the dash bonk here from Fred. It allows you like a 6 pixel tolerance for where you're standing, compared to the 2 pixels if you're just standing still.
And with Hammer and Master Sword, this will be a pretty easy Moldorm fight. Alex opting to use the hammer. Fred deciding, I don't want to do that extra menu or extra quick swapping. Decides to go with the sword. Unfortunately, Alex falls down, so Fred gets to gain a little bit of time back here.
It's an interesting, stark contrast between the two, because, I mean, it is effectively 3 hits with each method. The hammer, kind of a little bit more difficult to nail the shot, but it does give you the freedom to turn. I'm guessing that the safety of being able to hold your sword out was the big thing for Fred here.
Yeah, and you'll notice that Alex actually pokes. That's another reason to use the hammer. You're not going to get accidental pokes if you're using hammer. And with that accidental poke, it does less damage, so you end up with the enraged Moldorm at the end.
Well, I definitely made a point about, Fred kind of having the advantage with execution. That's not to say that NilssonAlex is any kind of slouch either. I mean, Fred is just that good at Zelda.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, this is definitely competitive either way. But I will say that I kind of expect Fred to have a little bit of an edge in most kind of vanilla-like scenarios.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We did see 50 rupees on the floating island. Not going to be picking that up. Fred going down Spiral Cave. Let's see if there's anything here. Piece of heart. Alex not checking the floating island, but he's going to be able to get up there with Dark World access. So he'll probably at least do Super Bunny and the first check of Hookshot Cave. If there's something in one of those locations, advantage Alex. If there is not, advantage Fred, because he will be able to do all those at the same time, probably with the hookshot.
Fred following this further, going to head up, or I guess down, or I don't even know which direction he's really going here in the Paradox Cave, but he's finding
right,
more
Paradox.
items here. I almost feel like it's more a paradox to not make a joke about it at this point, but that's a rod. Not quite the fiery one.
Yeah. Well, I'd honestly get that ice rod over with earlier. We had an ice rod hunt recently. We don't need more ice rod hunts. Okay, but nothing of immediate progression on the light world side of Death Mountain. Like I said, I do expect to see 3 extra checks over here on Alex's side. And Fred looks like he's heading over towards Kakariko and probably over towards either Skullwoods or Village of Outcasts.
I could see the value in going into either. I think it's probably more advantageous, since what we know, it would be better for him to be in the Skullwoods sooner. But it's not like Pendant Thieves Town is a bad place to be at all. I mean, there are 4 relatively easy to access locations. You have boots. We didn't see Alex go in there, so I'd be very curious to see if Fred's going to dip into there or even consider finishing it. Shoutouts to the Quick Warp, though. Not everybody goes for that.
Okay, we are going to get to at least see the Turtle Rock Medallion requirement. See if it's Ether, if we're going to be searching for another medallion. And it's Bombos, and we don't have that Bombos yet, so no Turtle Rock entry yet. Not that he'd be able to get very far without a fire rod.
See, you say that.
Not that he should be able to get very far. Yeah, we have had a couple of seeds where that right side had no keys, and you can get pretty far. You can get all the way to Laser Bridge if there's no keys on the right side. Super Bunny with bombs and a piece of heart. Meanwhile, Fred can do some of these North Dark World checks first.
Yeah, we saw
anything in Village of Outcasts or in Skullwoods.
We did see Alex do the same thing, so these kind of represent crossing over points for the two, which is an interesting choice to make because there are other things here in the Dark World you can do. I think this is just a desire to not get caught out by any particular weird spot.
Okay, and just 20 rupees in Hookshot Cave that we can get to, so nothing there. So if there's something in the rest of Hookshot Cave, hopefully Fred gets back there and just does it in one fell swoop with the hookshot. We are going to get a Spike Cave check. We have both Cape and Blue Cane and half magic. This is a very easy check at this point.
I always find it kind of interesting when someone leaves a full heart container on Graveyard Ledge. I mean, you took the time to go all the way in there.
Yeah, I agree. It's not that much of a time loss to pick it up. Oh, there's that hookshot. Wow, that is a not nice spot for the hookshot.
Yeah, I mean, considering just how far you had to pull yourself through that cave, but at least, you get pulled back the other direction and will end up leaving.
So I think this will be a swamp play for Alex. And we get a mushroom at the C-shaped house.
I got a bad feeling a lot of the things that Fred's going to do here are probably going to be non sequiturs that point him in directions other than that hookshot.
Yeah, a bit of a shame because he could have gotten that hookshot when he was up there. And he's probably not going to want to go back up to the mountain till he has a hook shot, and that's not going to happen. He's going to have to get to Spike Cave at some point. So there's going to be a lot of things that he might choose to do before he gets back up there.
Potential upside here if Fred does continue this. Ooh, there's another bomb. If continues this route south to do the Smith chain, he may end up actually heading back over towards Bombos tablets. So that may be a terminating point of this route.
Well, he can't do the Smith chain without the mitts. He's just got the he has the gloves. So he needs those flippers in Skull Woods is what he really needs for those mitts. But he can get that hook shot without the mitts. But I just don't see him going back up there until either it's the last choice or he has the hook shot, and that's not going to happen. So it might be a while before he gets to that Spike Cave.
Yeah, that's big feels bad. It's going to be tough for him to untangle this web of logical progression. Whereas Nilsson at this point has pretty clear goals and pretty clear ways of doing them.
But there are still enough of those trolly little items, that Bombos that we need for Turtle Rock, a Fire Rod, which, it's not the Ice Rod hunt. Oh, there is a Fire Rod. So there's something. Fred, that's going to push him into Skull Woods. He's going to get his flippers a lot sooner than we were thinking. And Alex has very consciously skipped Village of Outcast and the front of Thieves Down. So this could be a way for Fred to get back into this.
That's one of those spots that, like, if you are in a, hey, I've got a lot of things I can do mode, it's very unlikely that you want to go into Pendant Thieves in that circumstance. So I could definitely see that being like a last location for Alex.
Yeah, especially if you put it out for this long, the age old, if it's there, I lose, could enter into his mind. So it very well could be last location. Fred can do the middle first here and may actually do the back right away with that Fire Rod. We'll lose him a little bit of time, but not shouldn't be that big a deal. I don't even know if we got the second item out of this, to be honest.
I do like the decision, though, if you're going to definitely kill the boss, do the back first. You're going to have an extra key to work with.
Yep. And yeah, and actually, Fred, once he gets those flippers, he may go straight to Ice Palace, because he will have the ability to full clear it with that Fire Rod.
So, another question on the table, this Bombos, and maybe it's in Ice Palace. Given that we have the Fire Rod, if Bombos is in Ice Palace, it might be very hard for Alex to otherwise, not full clear everything prior to that Thieves Town.
Oh, a nice magic drop there for Fred. And we are going to get the left side check first, which I see a lot more of in Swamp Palace with the new Diver Down strats. So he's not doing that. He's just, okay, so he just grabbed the key and is going to go do it. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was kind of expecting to see a bomb placement. But yeah, so just a straight up left side normal way. We get a Mothula fight for Fred Coughlin. Pretty good fight overall. Not optimal or anything, but certainly not dead. Crystal down. I believe he had a big key off of that, so he has a more accessible check available.
Oh, and there's the Bombos. Okay, that's well, that's bad. That's advantage Alex. Oh, this race just keeps turning. We'll see if Fred decides to do left side swamp when the time comes.
And it's a left side that Fred is less likely to want to do. Now, granted, oh wow, that's a fortunate find for that heart. Be less time spent once he finds those flippers. But when time comes for Fred to go into swamp, maybe he's going to just try going left out of the sake of thinking, oh, the time I wasted earlier. Yeah. But maybe he gambles not doing it at all.
Yeah, I think it depends on how late he is to swamp. If he does a bunch of other things first, if he does decide to do the back first, and then decide, has to make the decision whether to go back in, he'll know. I believe there were 2 items over there too, so he'll know that there are a couple items there, and he'll have to make that decision at that time. And if there aren't a lot of other places left, he might choose to do it that way. And the rare backside intended check of the big chest rather than doing a bomb jump. Just for a map, of course. We knew there was nothing there because we've already seen both items.
That's interesting. I'm guessing because you came from the left side of the dungeon and all that.
And Fred is about to get his flippers.
Meanwhile, flippers to good use. NilssonAlex representing Op Got Good, about to head over to Argus. Master Sword Argus is not the most fun to do, but it's definitely better than Fighter Sword.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the game intends you to do this with the Master Sword, just because in our NMG routing we put Swamp super late so that we have a better sword for it. And Fred debating whether to walk out of here or save and quit. Okay, decides to go ahead and save and quit.
You could tell by him pulling on the chest that this was a very upsetting find. Probably realizing, hey, this was definitely something that could have been done earlier, and probably sussing out at this point, my opponent has almost certainly done this.
Yeah, I think now we're gonna head. He's gonna go get those mitts, and then I think Ice Palace is the play for him. And he does have that Cane of Samaria hook shot. Not having hook shot in Ice Palace always feels bad, but not nearly as bad with Icebreaker.
Yeah, and depending on your bomb jump knowledge, you may have the ability to circumvent it anyway.
But with Icebreaker, we don't have to worry about any of that. So.
Yeah, so I mean, even if you ended up doing something unconventional, there are backups.
Yes. Yeah, I always like to talk about the hookshot lock in Ice Palace is only logical and it's never actually completely there. There's always ways around it. And it wouldn't surprise me if Alex also goes into Ice Palace with that Bombos. And I guess there's an item left in the big chest. He's heading back in. The other reason I'm not a big fan of the left side play early is if you don't at least have the big key. Just because you still might have to go back into the dungeon with that big key, and that's what we're seeing right now on Alex's side.
Yeah, so we'll at least get the opportunity to see it. If it ends up being junk and Fred ends up making a tactical skip, then this could actually work out for him, saving some time back.
And it's just 50 rupees, so nothing of value in that big chest. But we have full cleared Swamp Palace. And first item in ice is just a compass.
So at this point, I think we're really just looking for our flute and trying to figure out what the medallion is for Meyer. We pretty much know about everything else.
Yeah, might need a quake. So we're getting close to that chat commentator go mode. Or sorry, no mode.
I worry a little bit that Fred's potentially in the range for throw mode.
Well, he's certainly throwing a lot of bombs, if nothing else.
Yeah, he has definitely dropped nothing but bombs on every single NPC in this world.
Okay, we see 20 rupees. I think that's our second item. And a shovel. Oof. Fetch quest, anyone?
Yeah, shovel, lading the seed. Nobody likes seeing that.
No.
There's just no good context for where you would be able to check that within a route.
And remember, he doesn't have the hook shot. He bombs the floor to get the big chest here. Gets a small key. So iced tea or cold stare has the last item. And since he didn't hit the switch, getting to iced tea is pretty easy. I like not hitting the switch in a non-go mode situation of Ice Palace here. The only thing that can really screw you up is if you get 3 items right away and the big keys in iced tea, which can happen, but it's pretty rare.
And thankfully, there are just ways of doing a loop around the dungeon. So I mean, like even if it's bad, ooh, that's a flute.
That is a flute. That is well. Once we see the Meyer medallion, that could be our no mode.
Now this is interesting because there's no way that NilssonAlex misses that flute. So
Yep.
it's really a race against the clock here for Fred to try and catch up on some of these important, sequence checks that Alex has already done.
Yeah. Well, it's going to come down to, does Fred get up to Spike Cave for his hook shot before Alex gets to Thieves Town for the fire rod? I feel like that that fire rod might come sooner, just because there's just fewer places for Alex to check, because of all that time that Fred spent trying to figure out what to do after Pod came up empty, after they did Aga.
Now, on the other hand, if he does end up figuring out, hey, that's something I missed, that was accessible earlier on, an earlier check of Spike Cave would give him the advantage of a faster Swamp Palace than Nilsson, except for the bombos on the left side.
Yeah, he's gonna have to get that bombos on the left side, but he won't have to go back in for his for that big chest. So at least there's that.
This is a tough win condition for Fred. Well, seeing half magic, fire rod, and great vanilla strategy for the spin come into play here. Fred absolutely burning down Cold Stare with pretty much ease at this point. Looked very automatic.
And you'll notice on Alex's side, he did hit the switch, so he had to go all the way around to get to this iced tea location. Fortunately for him, he's not skipping it. Some runners would consider doing that. It is kind of a nasty location to get to in this situation, but he's not going to do that. He's going to get his flute. Okay, let's see, where is Fred going next. He's going to activate that flute. And the one thing is, this might incentivize him to go up to the mountain, because he needs to know what those medallion requirements are. So he might just, I could see him fluting to Meyer to see what Meyer requires, and then after he does that, if he can do Meyer, he can maybe go to Death Mountain and find out what TR requires.
Yeah, this is the sort of situation with so many loose ends to tie up. I mean, I definitely understand Fred, regardless of what he's doing, activating the flute immediately. You get the Meyer area to check. You got a mushroom to turn in, a shovel to check. We'll check Meyer immediately, so I think you're onto something with the checking medallion requirements. Hopefully, that puts him in the presence of mind to go up to the mountain next, like you said.
And it's Quake, so we are still one item from go mode. This could end up being a search for that Quake as well.
Seeing some well wishes in chat about finding a Quake here. Unfortunately, not the situation. However, we still have Checkerboard Cave. Or Landmolus, as unlikely as that would be.
Yeah, I can't see them going for Landmo at this point, but if it was there, that would be pretty big if one of them chose to do it.
That's the thing, is
Checkerboard.
A spot like that would end up being kind of ridiculous. Like, that would be something that would really make things like an equalizer, because I can't imagine either of these runners would do that until it's the only thing remaining. Also, big shout out to Alex surviving with 1 heart on the Cold Stare fight, doing Hammer Cold Stare. I didn't really get a chance to say something about that during the fight, but because I didn't even notice it till the end, but that's a very difficult fight to do.
Oh, very difficult. Fred had the advantage of having that fire rod. Going in with the bombos will melt the shell, but it doesn't really help you in the rest of the fight. Oh, and I think Fred's going to do Spike Cave right now, which is really good for him, because he'll be able to check that the hookshot cave. Alex never got back to that. And if that's our Quake, that would be pretty big.
So yeah, can't understate just how huge of a moment this is for Fred to actually find this hookshot now. We're running out of opportunities for this to kind of swing back in his favor if we were going longer without it. Of course, the downside is that there's a chance to, as we mentioned before, miss that bombos. So we'll see if this ends up being a pitfall on accident.
Okay, he's going to save and quit. He looked like he was going to try and get out. That's pretty tricky to do. Let's see what he does. Or is he just going to go straight over to Swamp Palace? I mean, this is fine if he decides to full clear it, but if not... I suspect this will be a full clear Swamp Palace, though.
Yeah, and it's the fact that he checked for the Mire requirement that really kind of makes that seem like the case.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Alex can activate his flute, and then he'll check the Mire area, and then he's going to have decisions to make as well, because he'll see that he can't do Mire yet because of that quake, and he might go into Turtle Rock without a Fire Rod. We'll see if he does that before he goes into Thieves Town and get that Fire Rod that's just sitting there in the front of Thieves Town.
How awful would that be if it's one of those, Turtle Rocks where you can actually get basically all the way to Laser Bridge?
Yeah, his choices at this point are all pretty bad. Whereas for Fred, if he does get this Bombos out of Swamp Palace, he's gonna have a pretty clear-cut path. Just go right back up the mountain, do Turtle Rock, do that hookshot, the rest of that hookshot cave, and hope to find Quake there.
So with both runners having done everything in Desert except for Lamolus with our remaining item, there's a small short list of places where we can find things. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alex consider the Thieves Town before Turtle Rock, but I mean, at an hour and 10 minutes into your seat in a casual boot seat, Turtle Rock almost feels like something you have to do at this point when you're so far away and removed from finding your Fire Rod.
Yeah, I could see the play. The argument for the play to Turtle Rock is that you can also do the rest of Hookshot Cave at the same time. The argument for the Thieves Town area is you're right near Smith Chain. Smith Chain could also be our answer for that Quake Medallion. And it looks like he's going to opt towards Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town, so at least get his Fire Rod.
Well, he's going to opt to got good progression, hopefully, in his sake. That could potentially give that Quake. And maybe we could find another sword on this route, too. There's a lot of overworld still on the table. Alex certainly hoping to kind of give himself a little bit more to work with here.
And this late in the sea, will be interesting to see if Alex decides to actually go full and full clear Thieves Town. It is the green pendant, and we've seen 2 items in the front, I believe.
I know we've definitely seen at least one. I think 2 is the right answer there.
Meanwhile, we'll see if Fred decides to do the left side first or if he does it after. Okay, he's going to do the left side afterwards, but I think he's going to be compelled to go back in with the item count that he's going to end up with here.
Yeah, that would be a super bold thing to skip, and potentially game costing. So, if you are a Bomb Squad fan, you're really hoping that Fred doesn't try to, steal some time back here. Oh, speaking of swords.
Nice. Got a tempered sword for Alex. Depending on where that Quake is, Fred might not get that.
Yeah, and relatively easy to get, but when you're trying to save every moment you can, you find that go mode, you're pretty much not stopping for something like Peg Cave.
No, for sure. And we see 10 arrows from the Smiths themselves.
Nice to see both runners attempting to do a double puff strategy here for Argus. Try to pull 2 and get a sword spin. More efficient, you can get it down to just a few cycles that way. Unfortunately, this boss is just super cumbersome and awkward to do no matter what. But that will lead NilssonAlex here to turn in the purple chest, basically finishing the chain. So that is back-to-back potions for Alex.
Okay, he's heading back to 3. So this could be the Thieves Town play now. Okay, Fred finishing up with Argus. Gets that big key, and we'll see if he's compelled to go back in.
Hammer equipped, almost doing the Village of Outcasts in a weird direction that you might see in NMG, like kind of how you do like the C-shaped house after Thieves Town. I don't know, it's kind of weird. He's gonna go into Thieves Town now. I'm not used to seeing people not fully clear it all in one go.
Yeah,
He does
exactly.
see the mirror in front of the dungeon. Oh no.
Still just doesn't want to go to Thieves Town. This could be the mountain play? No, he's gonna do that mushroom first. Okay, doing the mushroom first makes sense. Might as well just get that over with.
So more like a less experienced NMG route where you get powder first.
Yeah, there you go. And we'll see if he flutes back over to 3, or if he decides to go back to the mountain, because those are pretty much his choices at this point.
Yeah, I do think you kind of have to. If you're going to portal right there, that's representative of, oh, wait, I could do this one-off.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So he's going to go into Thieves Town. We'll see if he keeps going after that fire rod. Maybe not, because he knows there's one more item in Skull Woods. I could see him taking that fire rod and going straight over to Skull Woods and doing that. And then he'll have a decision to make. Do I go and do Turtle Rock, or do I do the rest of Thieves Town? And it feels like Turtle Rock's probably the better answer. But you never know. That Quake could be sitting there in the back of Thieves. Pendant Thieves being that trolley location that just can get you sometimes.
Yeah, wouldn't that be the ultimate twist of this seed? That, after Fred has basically pulled this back all the way to a point of contention, the one thing he actually skipped that he did do, that would be awful.
But I feel like for Fred, this will be immediately up to Death Mountain and Turtle Rock. And he'll to see, 1, does he have the medallion? He'll be happy to find out he does. And 2, to juke, because he hasn't done any of those east side Dark Death Mountain checks. And Alex is going to leave with that fire rod.
That's an interesting nope out situation. Did we see Alex go to the Mire area?
Yeah, he's been there.
Yeah, so even with Quake still on the table, we'll just get the heck out of there.
Yeah, and he's going to go do Skull Woods, which is, I think, the right call for him. You don't want to have to come back here. If by chance that other item is the Quake, we know it's not, but he doesn't know that. You don't want to have to come back and do extra climbs of the mountain that you can avoid.
That's a good point, because, I mean, you already did the front 4 of Thieves Town. It's not that time-intensive to go to the back from the front door. So if you're going to do something like this, hedging your bets on that one remaining item that you already have to potentially get, or at least you're within close range of here in Skull Woods, yeah, I mean, that's a safer play. Kind of hard to imagine the mentality of these runners right now. Alex having been pretty much in the driver's seat for the entire time, in terms of finding, or choosing his own destiny, really. He's been able to find most of his progression without too much of a problem. But it's kind of hard to abstract from this seed what you would think your opponent would be doing. He's against a strong opponent. You kind of think, hey, Fred's going to be, like way out in front in most of these races, because he's a high-quality runner. Fred, on the other hand, having been through quite the journey to try and get to a point where he's in contention here. And I would argue he even has a bit of a lead with the crystals, so...
he's got the crystal. It's going to come down to where that Quake is. If it's in Turtle Rock or in Hookshot Cave, then Fred's definitely in the lead. That Master Sword should be fine for him. There's one big difference that we're going to see. If it's not, then there's a whole bunch of checks that Alex has already done that Fred has not done that could be that Quake, and he's going to very likely check some of those before he gets to the really bad checks, because the really bad checks at this point are Back of Thieves, Land Moles. I don't believe we've seen Catfish, and the Sword Advantage just disappeared for Alex, because there's another Tempered Sword.
In terms of endgame, that's big. I mean, the red mail doesn't hurt either, but just being able to have Tempered at minimum gives you 1+1 Ganon.
Yeah, the difference between Tempered and Gold, very minor with runners at this caliber. The difference between Master Sword and Tempered, always a difference.
Well, no mirror bonks because of Dead Rocks today. However, Dead Rock's still going to be annoying, as Fred heads into Turtle Rock, it appears.
And Alex, having finished up his Skull Woods, gets his heart container, and no doubt will head up to the mountain now, too. We'll probably have a Gold Sword, and on Trinex, the Gold Sword does make a bit of a difference. Not a huge difference, but it is definitely a faster fight.
Well, it's been a long road, an hour and 20 minutes into this seed, and Fred with now an apparent lead. If we ignore the other overworld checks that Nilsson has done, that will potentially bite Fred if Quake is not here.
But it is, and that puts Fred in go mode at 119.16. That is actually pretty amazing, the way this came out. And he says, you know what? I am just going to go do that first. And, you know, I don't know which is better, to be honest. I think it's pretty much maybe a personal preference at this point. Either way, you're coming back up the mountain, because either you're going to come back up the mountain to get back to Turtle Rock and to get back to GT, or you're going to come up the mountain to get back to just GT. So Fred says, "Yep, just I'm out of here. I'm just gonna go do Meyer."
Well, truly living up to the name of the bomb squad, Fred Coughlin using his bomb boast to make the earthquake, taking this all the way back to Misery Mire, and not going to be very far behind him, actually. NilssonAlex will find this quake very soon. So this has become a very hot contended race for the finish. This is just straight execution. This will be go mode Mire, go mode Turtle Rock, and there's not a ton of time to save. Your routing in Mire may be the thing between this and GT.
And looks like Alex is going to go check that hookshot cave first, hoping to find the quake in there. So he'll get his gold sword, and he'll have to decide whether or not, once he sees that quake at Turtle Rock, whether he decides to do Turtle Rock now or go back to Mire. Again, not a big difference. And let's see, where is that big key in Misery Mire? It's one of those dungeons where we're in go mode, so of course we find the item that we don't care about. One more chance for the so-called God Mire, though.
Yeah, the only 2 item locations that are actually items in Misery Mire. Not a lot of fun to find an item in this situation.
No. And we do not have a God Mire. Alex finds his quake. Let's see what he decides to do.
So that's about it.
Yeah, he's also going to mirror out and head to Mire.
So approximately a 2-minute difference between the two for their go modes, and neither of them will have sword beams, as Chad is pointing out, for their Mire 2 rooms. So relatively similar execution scenarios between the two. Did Alex picked up a gold sword there, right?
Yes, he's got a gold sword.
Well, there's a limited set of scenarios where gold sword's going to be useful. Most of them are kind of in front of us, actually, at this point. It does make Trinex's fast cycle a little bit more likely.
Interesting that that Fred chooses to go ahead and hit the switch there instead of hitting the one at the bottom. I don't know if he had set up Spooky, and that may be part of his reasoning.
Yeah, hard to say. We've seen some creative Spooky Ancilla setups, actually, in this league. I saw someone just the other day using a silver arrow, actually, in the wall as a way to, jumble the Ancilla slots. So we'll see what Fred intends to do here. Does pick up magic, so it looks like we're going to try to do some spooky stuff. Yeah, that dash buffer, either a muscle memory thing or more likely set up for spooky. No switch needed, so first one skipped. We're going to hit this anti-fairy and not get the variable.
No, looks like whatever he did, it didn't quite work, so he's going to just have to bomb the wall here.
Good presence of mind to not go for it like 6 times, though, because that will definitely sink more time than you would have saved.
Plus uses up a lot of that extra magic. He's already got the cape selected, so he might be using cape strats here on Vidi. So unfortunately, we don't have silver arrows to make this an easy, super easy fight.
I'm slightly disappointed that he doesn't go for the normal deboost strategy, but, you know, understandable. Will not get a zero cycle out of this, so there is a time save potential here for NilssonAlex if he really wants to go for it.
Okay, Alex getting his big key. And now we head back up to Turtle Rock for Fred, and then of course Alex not far behind.
Health a potential risk here for NilssonAlex as he's trying to be more like a NilssonAlex, trying to run through this as fast as he possibly can, vrooming his way to the basement.
Well, he's got 3 bottles, and I think he's got a fairy in one of those, and maybe a red in another. He's definitely got a few safeties in there.
He does have a red potion from that purple chest, so yeah, you're right. He does have a lot of safety to work with. Almost certainly in this situation doesn't want to try to take any time to get anything else.
Okay, and this time when we go into Turtle Rock, we're going to stay in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, this time's for keeps.
It'll be interesting to ask the runners what their thought process on going back to Meyer first. Like I said, I don't know if anybody's timed it out to know which would actually be the faster thing to do. Either way, you're coming back up the mountain again. So you know, it was a required that quake required in TR. So interestingly enough, you could have gotten that quake without even having the fire rod. So if Alex had gone there without the fire rod, he would have been able to get his quake. Good thing he didn't, because that probably leads him to full clear Meyer, though.
Well, we will see a minor time save here for Alex having done a zero cycle Vitreous with use of cape the same way that Fred did, but with a better sword, a little bit easier to do. That is not enough to surmount the gap here at this point, but will be one more thing that could push him closer to it.
Yeah, at this point, Fred needs to make some sort of mistake, or there needs to be some really bad divergence in the big key routing for GT. Turtle Rock, not a good place to make up time unless someone makes a mistake. And the typical mistake you'll see in Turtle Rock is that less than 5% chance of the small keys being in the big chest and in the lava chest. And if that happens, there's a really good chance that both runners will do that. So.
Yeah, at an hour and a half into this seed, this is a nerves mounting, or pressure mounting, nerves, you know, kind of chattering at your teeth sort of moment for both runners. They may both feel like they have, you know, a clear path to victory, or potentially that their opponent is like halfway up GT already.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if what Fred decides to do here. Probably going to steal the key. I did not see if he's gotten the big key yet.
I don't believe so. No,
Okay,
no.
he hasn't. If he's going through this door, he definitely doesn't have the big key.
Yeah, because we have the quake in that first chest.
Also, I'm going to take this moment to shout out our tracker, Kaya-chan, pushing the buttons behind the scenes and doing all the hard work for us. Definitely appreciate you.
Definitely helps us as commentators stay on top of the information, as there are many things to keep track of, let alone a tracker itself. Big shout outs and big thanks.
Okay, so this means because that big key was vanilla, we are going to most likely go outside. That's a much bigger risk to skip the big chest if you in this setup.
Yeah, being that is the one key we need in order to go further, let alone, you know, the crystal roller room. There is no skipping this. Well, I mean, maybe if you're like
You
really
could,
super
yeah, if you're
bold.
really feeling risky, but no, this would have been a bad time to do it. The percentage is it's not the less than 5%. When the big key is not vanilla, it's a much higher percentage that there's going to be a small key there. Because there
And
has
the
to be one either there or in Crystal Roller, so I guess it's just 50-50, more than 50-50, because it could be in both locations.
And the double-edged sword of that too is that you wouldn't have a easy mirror portal to work with, where you do if you leave the dungeon through that mimic cave door.
We are going to have to get the last small key on the laser bridge. So not a nice key layout for Turtle Rock. Sometimes Go Mode Turtle Rock just doesn't look that different from not Go Mode Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it just depends on what we find on Laser Bridge for
Yeah.
the key. I mean, it could be the first or the last, or it could be flip-flop depending on how you approach Laser Bridge. Although I feel like it's kind of like that paradox where you're like, if you check the last one, it's always the first one, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Perhaps in effect right now.
Yep. Although powder's a nice safety item for the top of GT, I wouldn't turn that down, but still, I think you'd rather just get your small key and go.
Yeah, that's a safety that if you do have to spend the entire time to clear out Laser Bridge, you're going to feel good about that safety, at least having been worth your time. If you think that your opponent's, right on your heels or potentially just a little bit ahead of you, though, you might be willing to trade that kind of safety. I mean, we have red mail, a red sword. Maybe these runners don't feel like they need to do something like that.
Yeah, Fred's got the green goo and a fairy. He does not have the red that Alex picked up at the purple chest.
Well, good try next so far, but potential for Nilsson Alex to save a little bit more time over Fred, as this will be a 2-attack cycle. Potentially 1 for Alex with a good try next fight. Not a massive time save, but every little bit counts at this point.
A very nice finish from Fred, getting the double spin into the slash to finish off Trinex there.
Yeah, that's an optimal phase too, so not a whole lot of room left for Alex to cut the gap. It really is GT routing at this point. So we like to play a game. We don't have a lot of time to play it, but there's 22 item locations that you can find the big key in Ganon's Tower. Go ahead and get your guesses into chat once you see that command. Tracy, where do you think we're going to find it?
I'm going with my 5. That's what I always go with, so nice and early.
Darn, I keep trying to pick one that doesn't get picked.
You gotta get in there right away. This is why I just don't put my answer in there. I just like to say it.
Well, we'll see where Fred ends up finding it. Our count, regardless of how long it takes him, will be based on his since he's the first one in. Folks, as he starts his, search for it, we will cut this off. And I'd like to take a moment here to thank these two for putting on this race. This has been very exciting to watch. So we'll see him go on the left side. But if you haven't had an opportunity yet, you'll see a command here shortly after the guessing game to follow these runners. Give them a check them out on their channel. They're going to be 2 runners to watch for the rest of this league.
Meanwhile, Alex having a lot of issues with Laser Bridge, down to 1.5 hearts. He may end up using that fairy sooner than he might have planned. As we see, just small key on the torch there. And I'm going to guess Fred's going to do some Dark Magician strats if it's not in here. But it is in here.
Paying out here.
Mirror right on out. Oh, and Alex is using that fairy right now.
Oh, this is double bad news for Alex. No longer having the safety. And I don't believe he actually picked up that powder, did he?
I did not see. I was starting to... Because he did check the first 2 chests. I don't know if he did 4 before 3, though.
Okay, he did get the powder, according to chat.
Okay.
So that is a safety available to him. And he will save a little bit of time with his try next fight, but it is a nearly insurmountable, approach to GT that Fred did. He went straight for the left, got both the keys that he needed, all three of the keys, really. Maybe not bonking the torch could save him time there. There's not a whole lot on the table to, kind of steal back from Fred here.
Yeah, and when you think back to where Fred was after the Aga play and after the pod play, not realizing what he needs to do next, having trouble figuring out that, yes, I have access to Hype Cave and the South Dark World checks. He lost a lot of time to that, so the way he's brought this back has just really been impressive.
Having the temerity to not lose hope in those situations, I mean, that is kind of the story of randomizer comebacks, because, you kind of just have to not lose sight of what's available to you. It did take Fred a minute to figure out what he was doing there, but he's made solid decisions this entire time through and hasn't let potential gotcha moments ruin this race. However, it is not over yet. It would take quite a lot for him to give this back up, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. So if you're a Op Got Good fan, don't give up your hope yet. It'll take quite a lot for NilssonAlex to try and turn this around, but going right probably ain't going to do it. He may still end up going left after Hope Room, though.
And there may not be a small key here, because I think we've seen 3 of them.
Whoa,
but he does get silvers.
Now, that's still a little bit much of a gap here. I mean, depends on how good the silverless fight is for Fred, but that is about as close to a time save difference that you can get.
Yeah, those silvers maybe say, I mean, on a really good silverless, probably not going to save more than maybe 30, 40 seconds.
Yeah, but say we have a situation where like a Ganon fall happens with silvers, that'd
be a great equalizer. Like, this is definitely still within, sometimes we joke about the number of Ganon falls that it would take for a runner to come back. This is definitely within 1, so.
I would say that sort of thing becomes a question once you have these silvers.
Yep. And Fred not even going to check the other items up here. He's got everything he needs. He's not worried about silvers at this point. And we'll likely powder the anti-fairies here.
Yeah, I like that choice. This is really your last chance to get a good heal in. You really don't want to bunk the tree outside of the pyramid because you want to drop right in. And you're not going to get the heal from Aga 2.
Yeah, I always find it interesting that every other boss in this game gives you a full-on heal. It's just the one where you kind of need it the most and would love to have it. Nope, we're not going to give it to you.
Double bombs living up to the team name on the very final chest of the game. Fred sparing nobody in this seed in that respect.
And this room is just awful sometimes. Alex will also gain a little bit of time here in the gauntlet with those silvers since he chooses to use them. They're a very nice item to have for this part of the game.
Yeah, Fred's combat, while not perfect, was definitely good in the gauntlet, but that snipe, just want to point that out if you were watching the Aga 2 fight, good silver arrow snipe out of Alex here. So this is going to be 3 phases, I think, for Aga 2.
Nice 2-2-2.
I will say, though, with good positioning and swipes, it is possible to, I think, double-triple that.
Yeah, it's always really difficult. And, of course, in this case, yeah, we didn't have any blue balls, so it's certainly possible. But no one's going to say no to a 3-round.
Yeah, like, that serviceable fight. That would be one small way Alex, if nearly flawless, could turn that around. The not one cycle Lammola is going to hurt him here, though. Alrighty, Fred with a good setup for a 1 cycle on the first phase. We'll see if he can pull this off in phase 2. With Cape, that looks like a shoe-in.
With half magic, a green bottle in your pocket, like there's no reason not to just do it this way.
Willing to expend quite a bit of magic with that half magic. Does have another potion to work with, so plenty of magic at his disposal for Fire Rod triples in phase 4. And this is a fight where you're going to see Fred's experience really come into effect. I'm surprised he's not going to go for the free spin here. Maybe just opting to be as safe as possible, assuming that his opponent would not be as good as him at the triples. I would generally want to see somebody try to get that free spin, though.
Yeah, it's going to be 12 more total. I guess he's gotten 2, so that'll be 9 more total, because that's the third one. So doing a very nice job so far.
Yeah, like in this situation, he saves a lighting cycle if he gets the free one. That's kind of shocking to me.
Meanwhile, Alex into his Moldorm 2.
Efficient lighting in general. Kind of an unfortunate warp pattern for Ganon here, but Fred Coughlin going to pull it off.
And get your GGs in chat for Fred Coughlin. Crossing that bridge, finishing up with an official race time of 1:40:03. And it's probably after some of the issues he had with the play after Aga. I'll be interested to see how he feels about that. Like that would have, I don't know, just the way he was able to keep his head together, and once he finally figured out the answer there was very impressive.
It does speak to his experience both in this randomizer and really any game he's played in a race format. Been in the scene for a long time, and it showed today. Well, we'll see Alex go directly into his Ganon fight. Should be a bit fast, considering the equipment load, about as fast as it can get. Hopefully, once we have that Ganon fight in, we can try and get both of them in for an interview.
Okay, Alex going to drop down. He's got a much easier Ganon fight here. Not that Fred made it look all that hard.
Yeah, now this is kind of like your maximum equipment load. We have red mail, gold sword, silvers. The only thing we're short of is 5 hearts.
And he's got a red potion if he needs it. Alex getting a nice early silver shot and gets the torch glitch right afterwards. Not that you really need it that badly for Silver's fight, but it's kind of nice to have. And get your GGs in chat for NilssonAlex as he crosses the bridge and finishes up with an official race time of 1:42:26. So GGs to both our runners. And while we wait to get him in for an interview, I'd remind you all to follow our runners as well as my co-commentator and especially our tracker doing the hard work behind the scenes. Very appreciative of all the help we get.
Yeah, it's definitely frequently a thankless job. And plus, our tracker today, Kia-chan, basically doing both of the runners. So having to keep track of the up and down and sideways approaches to this game world. We're very grateful. As well as Speed Gaming for hosting this, the Invitational League. Of course, if you're interested in other matches in the league, there is a schedule that you can check as well. I believe it's the !INV League. As well as the entire, open league as well. So that's, if you're looking to get involved as a volunteer, you can also participate in that as well, without all of the stringent, commentary application stuff. So a lot of opportunities there. But looks like we are joined by NilssonAlex. GG, that was a heck of a race.
Yeah, GG's. That was a little bit cruel at the end, but GG's to the bomb squad.
Yeah, it was quite the interesting race because I believe, remind me, I believe Fred got into Aga first, and you both went into Pod and found nothing.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that with the hammer you can go to Hype Cave. And when I did Pod, I was like, it's pen and Pod, so it's normally got at least one good item, but not this time around.
And yeah, you figured it out a little bit sooner. Fred ran around a little bit confused, not sure what to do when Pod came up empty. So it took him a while. So you got a bit of a lead there, but in the end, the routing was just a little bit cleaner once he figured it out.
Yeah, the only thing that I think it just came down to where the fire rod was. Me skipping so much stuff early on in the Village of Outcast kind of hurt me in the end, but I feel like I was doing pretty good routing wise. So I can't really be that mad at how.
No, not at all. I thought you played well. I mean, you got those flippers out. So once you got those flippers, I could see leaving before going into Thieves Town and getting that fire rod, because those flippers you knew led to your mitts.
I was thinking about going back to Village of Outcast, but then I just realized that the whole mountain is open, and I was thinking about last race I did last week, and I skipped the mountain for a long time, and that hurt me. So I had to do a gamble, and this time around it didn't really pay off.
Yeah. So another question for you. You both end up doing this, and I'm not convinced one way is better than the other, but you both got your Quake in TR and both left to do Mire and then went back to Turtle Rock. What was the thought process behind that?
Because I was thinking about no matter what I have to do another climb.
Yep.
So it was just I felt like it was just better to clear out Mire at that point before clearing out Turtle Rock, because otherwise I would just climb the mountain one more time, might take some damage along the way. Just better to come in with full health and full magic at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and just wanted to mention that Fred says, apologies to the SG crew, dad percentage, so going to pass on the interview. So GG's to Fred out there if you're still listening, and yeah, take care of your kids, because that's kind of an important thing. So.
Well, I will say it's really impressive to hang in there with somebody like Fred. I mean, Fred Coughlin, well known in for all of Randomizer's history at this point. Nilsson, this is definitely the kind of race that you could be proud to walk away from. Like Pen and Thieves Town, that's a tough thing, a bad beat. But I mean, if you were gonna lose one to the bomb squad, I would feel most proud of my performance against Fred here. That's a tough opponent on any day.
I mean, yeah, he's a tough opponent, but like I've said in the other races I've done, this tournament at least, it's an invitational league. There's only good players. So, and in the division I'm in with my team, I would say there are some of the very best. So I'm no matter how it goes, we're down 5-0 right now, so it doesn't look good, but anything can happen in rando.
Yeah, it's only week 3, so you got time to get up and get back into it. Might be rough for the playoffs at this point, but definitely want to keep going to make sure you can stay in at this at the invitational.
Oh yeah, definitely
makes it more interesting, I think, for the bottom.
I like me and my team have said, we said before going in, we just play to have fun. Let's see what happens, because we knew from the beginning that this is going to be a rough league season compared to last one. So, I mean, it is what it is at this point. It's been close matches, at least in the co-op. Last week it was kind of close as well, but it's best runners in random, I would say. So this is what you have to expect.
Yeah, heck of a turn to go from last season facing a team like mine to a team like Andy's team.
I mean, we did have a close one last season, you and I, so...
That's fair. No, I mean, today I saw a lot of great things. I mean, we had some really great boss fights out of you, some smart routing decisions. You get burned by some, one-offs, but all in all, I mean, that was a competitive race, and I would say that you had, a healthy advantage to work with throughout a fair portion of the race, so... I think really there's nobody who's untouchable in this league. Even people who you'd think, hey, I don't stand a chance against. I've personally felt that way and taken a win I didn't expect to take. So I think despite the 05 start, a lot of things could shake up, and I'm excited to see what's coming from Op Got Good.
Yeah, like we got Cynic versus Sterling tomorrow, so that one should be very close as well because Cynic and Sterling is very good runners. So
yeah, it'll be a fun one.
If this one was close, that one is going to get even closer, I think.
A nice main tournament mod and admin rivalry.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So looking forward, what modes are you playing that you're looking forward to?
I'm doing next. Well, it's not next week, but the week after next.
Right after SG5.
The spoiler. Yeah, so spoiler key I will do, and then I will take a break until I think it's co-op Randomizer. So wall kicks and Sterling can go nuts with mystery and all dungeons key sanity.
So yeah, that actually kind of that pilot. The pilot keys actually I think is going to be a really fun one, to be honest. So I'm looking forward to that one myself as well.
Yeah, that one's super stressful. I didn't enjoy it last season, but
and yet here we are. You're doing it again. Are you going to run it, or are you going to be the pilot?
I think I'm going to run it. Sterling did a very good job as a pilot last time, so
he would definitely do that well. I just hope you like low percent.
I mean, I did low percent pretty much the whole last week against the lane, so I think I should be pretty okay.
You just imagine that hilarious situation, because we're going to see this a lot. Let's go to Vitreous. I have Fighter Sword. And?
That's going to be very fun to have that situation again.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. That mostly does it for everything we needed to ask, regarding interview questions, unless Tracy has more stuff. But any thoughts, final thoughts about the seed?
Not much. GG's to the Bomb Squad, to Fred, and thank you guys for doing the commentary. I know it's like pretty early for you guys over in US, but thanks for the tracking, and thanks for Speed Gaming for restreaming.
Thanks, Alex.
That was a lot of fun, and plus, for us being early, it's an excuse to be awake early on American Election Day, so why not?
Yep.
And folks,
things to do after this, so I'm gonna head out and do it. So.
And folks, if you're looking for more Randomizer, we have one more race on the docket today here on Speed Gaming. 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time, you have Chelsea X Lynn versus Walther IV with Bower Buddies and Old Swagga Jackson. Plenty more going on in the Open Invitation or the Open League. But otherwise, take a look at those schedules. Give these runners a follow. Stay tuned. Got plenty of League Randomizer action going on for the rest of the week with Casual Boots. I've been Diamonistic. Tracy M, if you have any other ways to close it out, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, just want to again thank you for joining me. I thank our tracker, Kaya-chan. Thank Speed Gaming for hosting us, and of course everyone running the league. This is always a really good time. I get to play my small part of talking about people playing Link to the Past and have fun doing it. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you at 4:10 p.m. for the next race.